Welcome to the Vermilion Podcast, a free audio library of business strategies, creative inspiration, and industry knowledge for actors, filmmakers, writers, and anyone looking to activate their creative potential. I'm Misha Calvert, a writer-director who helps artists build the careers that they dream of. I really hope that this podcast inspires you in some way. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm really excited about this week's topic, how to get what you want. Why? Because I like getting what I want, and I want you to get what you want too. There are strategies to it, and the downside is that life doesn't always get better. I've seen it get worse for people that I really care about, and I think if you want your life to get better, you have to change your behavior. You have to work. You have to do certain things to make it better. I'm going to cover some thoughts on how to get what you want. By the end of this, you have a good plan on how you want to go after what you want. So feel free to pause the episode and take notes as we go, because I'm going to cover a lot of ground and have some question and answer. Like, I'm going to ask a question, you write down your answers, and that's really going to help you figure out how you feel about this. So the first question is, what do you want? What do you really want? Is it a side quest? Be honest. There's only 3 possible answers to that question of, is it a side quest? Yes, and that's okay. Yes, and I'm going to abandon this mission now that I realized it's a side quest. And no, I really want this. So if you really want this, then let's go with that. This is more designed for the really want this than the side quest. Imagine doing, having, or being the thing that you really want. What does that feel like in your heart and in your body? Just take a moment and let your body imagine what it feels like. And in your heart, in your emotions, what does that feel like? What other things give you that same feeling in your heart and your body? For instance, if you really want a best friend and you feel sad and lonely and you really want to create a new relationship in your life where you have a very close friend, maybe you actually feel that same feeling in your body when you think about having a best friend. On a smaller scale, you feel that in your body when you think about having a dog and you don't have a dog right now. So write down, what are the other situations where you have that same feeling in your body? Question number 5, can you find time in your day-to-day where you are practicing having that feeling, where you are doing things that give you that same feeling as the thing you really want on the microcosm? Maybe it's just buying yourself a nice coffee. Maybe that feels like having a best friend, like warm, cozy, nice, sit down, gossip kind of a feeling. Start filling your life with people, places, and things that give you that same feeling as what you really want. This is a super speed life hack to actually getting what you really want faster. It's also about making space for the feeling that you really want to feel when you have the thing you really want. Because let's say you get to the level of the thing you really want. If you aren't practiced in feeling joy, gratitude, and ease or peace, you might get that thing you really want and you still are a basket case. You're anxious, you're ungrateful, you are criticizing everything, insecure, terrified it's going to be taken away. Usually the expansion of your life and the expansion of your bank account expands your existing psychological issues. It just amplifies your state of mind. So if you're used to being in a state of mind of gratitude, then that will be amplified. But if you're not used to feeling joy, how do you expect to feel it on that much grander scale when you finally do get the thing you really want? There's all sorts of people that I can think of who are rich, famous, and they are miserable. So you have to practice the feelings so that you can enjoy it when you do get it. Because I truly believe that if you're not practiced, you're not going to enjoy it. Number 6, can you think of things in your life that give you the opposite feeling as the thing you really want? It gives you like a bad feeling. It's not what you want. If the thing you want gives you peace, this gives you conflict. If the thing you want gives you happiness, this gives you sadness. Write down a list, all the things that, maybe even on the same topic of the thing that you really want, things give you the opposite feeling. Because guess what? By allowing those people, places, and things that give you the opposite feeling from what you want, you are signaling to your subconscious that you don't deserve the good feeling of what you do want. And you're training yourself to settle for the opposite. You're training yourself to think that that's okay. You don't need the joy. You don't need the gratitude. You don't need the ease. If you really want something, get meticulous about, okay, what are the things that are not aligned with that are actually the opposite of that? And can I take responsibility for making an edit, a life edit on those people, places, and things that are the opposite of the direction that I want to go? I don't owe them my time and my company, right? I don't have to have that thing in my house. And maybe you do owe them, but then you pay the debt and you move on. There's a lot of things in, I would say, probably everyone's life that are taking up space that they just don't need to be there. So what is one action step that you can take today, to start the shedding process? Shedding the people and places and things that are not aligned with what you really want. Can you write down one thing that you're going to do today? It can be very small. All right, here's a different way into getting what you really want. Imagine someone who is really successful at the thing you want. Picture them doing the thing. Picture their career. But now imagine that they have the same idea that you have. They have the same idea for the thing that you really want. Like suddenly they're like, oh, I want to do that. So this is now day one of them having that idea. Oh, I think I want to try that, they say. Write down, what do they do now? What do they do? What's the first thing that they do in pursuit of this same thing that you really want? They know that they won't fail. What are the first steps that they take? Write it down. And now imagine that this person who is well known for the thing that you really want, they've got the idea to do what you want to do. They start that thing. Okay, they've started. It went well. Whatever the first steps were, those first steps went well. They worked. What are the next steps that they take? What are the next things that they do? Those next steps worked. As they would. This person's very good at this thing. But now they meet an obstacle. Something comes up that gets in their way of moving forward. They meet an obstacle. What is the obstacle? And how do they overcome it? What is the obstacle likely to be? Write that down. And then write down, how did they overcome it? Knowing that they can't fail, what do they do to demolish this obstacle? If you were to model your behavior on this topic after the behavior of that person who successfully has done it in the past, with the question and answer that we just did, what would be the first step that you would take toward you getting the thing that you really want? What do you need to do to take the first steps that you know are going to work toward the thing that you want, while still feeling in your heart and body the feeling of, for instance, peace, ease, joy, that you know you will have when you have the thing you want in your imagination? Because if you can take those steps while holding on to the feelings that you would have at the end of this process, you're way more likely to achieve the result you want, and faster. And of course, way more likely to feel those same feelings when you do get to the end. And one of the final ways I'm going to give you to get what you want is what I call the pre-steps. So before you start doing the steps to get there, even if you just set up your environment to create an ecosystem that is conducive to you succeeding at the steps, that sometimes is enough. Like, the steps happen effortlessly. They happen without you even trying, or with very little effort, which is great because then you have more energy to do everything else that you need to do in life. So think about, what are the pre-steps? Is one of those pre-steps like get more sleep, or give up drinking, or dump the person that you actually don't really like, or move out of your parents' house, or get a new job? Like, what are the pre-steps? What's the thing that you know you need to do before anything else in order to set yourself up to do the steps that you know you need to do to get the thing that you want? I find a lot of people who are just naturally good at everything, like whatever they touch, it seems to work. It's because, well, confidence, but also they just set up the pre-steps so that they have infrastructure, whether it's mental infrastructure or physical infrastructure. You can also time jump and go a long distance in a short amount of time by, I already explained this part of things, but I just want to revisit it because it's really important. You use somatic work to do the emotional, spiritual channeling of how you want to feel at the end of the process. You start with that at the beginning. This time jumps you. And so you're jumping into the future and aligning with that moment that doesn't even exist yet. This pulls you to the future much faster, speaking from experience. And let your body become a magical body of time travel. Using your emotions. I think there's divine power in our emotions and in our body that we haven't even begun to understand yet. A lot of people get trapped in their body in the past because the body does store trauma. And they get trapped in a certain emotional note, sort of like a record skipping. And they will stay on that same skipping emotional note, sometimes for their entire lives. And their body will stay in a frozen, traumatized mode, sometimes for their entire lives. This is the other reason why it's so good to practice joy, practice ease, and start to embody it now, right now. Because if you're thinking joy, but your body is feeling terror, it's not a recipe that's going to work. All right, last point. Find someone who you can trust with this kind of, very gentle, tender work. Sharing your dreams is tender. You need to find someone who's not going to laugh at them, and who's not going to minimize them, and who's not going to minimize you, who's going to hold the vision for you and really, really support you in this. Find them and share what you really want. Ask for any support that you might need toward getting what you really want. Me voicing what I want has lit up this other person, and they're able to voice what they want for the first time. And I'm actually able to empower them to go after what they want. And now we're both better for this. And 2 + 2 = 8. Because we've now uplifted each other. We can become happier. We can become more peaceful. As artists, we can create our life. Our life is a work of art. And we don't need to just be a victim to circumstance and to take what's given to us and to take the way that people treat us as fact. No. There's so much more that you're meant for. There's so much bigger waiting for you. And I really hope that this offers you a few tips that will help you to get what you want. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode, and I can't wait to see you next week.
The Vermilion Podcast is sponsored by Vermilion, a home for artists. We offer classes, coaching, and community for creatives and innovators in the arts. If you're ready to find your voice and build the life of your dreams, we're here to support you every step of the way. Check out clubvermilion.com and schedule a free call today.